Hello and welcome back after a short break. Now it's time for this week's AI-generated sermon podcast. Originally this was titled Spirit-Led Christians, and AI has suggested a rename to From Football to the Global Church. You decide, as Tony.R brought us this message discussing the gifts of the Spirit and how they can be used for the benefit of the church and wider community. Enjoy, God bless, and see you next time.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting this deep dive with, well, quite the unexpected lineup. We got a football match, a really poignant moment of silence, actually, and then this truly wild finish. And you might think, what does this have to do with anything?
Right, where's the connection?
Exactly. But it sort of perfectly sets the stage for how things often aren't what they seem, you know?
Yeah.
And how unexpected events can just turn everything completely on its head. Just imagine this underdog team, bottom of the league, playing the undefeated leaders.
High stakes.
Totally. And in the dying moments, no video review, there's this really questionable offside call. Could have killed their chances.
Oh, man.
But then, wait for it, in added time, the opposing goalkeeper comes up for an attack.
Always a desperate move.
Right. And suddenly, bam, our player scores from like 40 yards into an open goal. They get the win.
Incredible.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That whole sequence, from the disputed call to that open goal, it just screams human error, but also these astonishing, unpredictable outcomes.
Yeah, and what's fascinating there is how these very moments, where human plans get challenged or assumptions are just flipped upside down, or like where an outcome unfolds in a way nobody saw coming, they often lead to a much bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
And it raises a really important question for you listening. How open are you really to the unexpected, especially when it fundamentally challenges what you thought you knew?
That's a good question.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at how a truly revolutionary message broke through some really established barriers, and it was guided by something far greater than just human planning.
Okay.
We'll explore the work of the Holy Spirit in the early church, specifically focusing on this radical expansion of the gospel message to non-Jews, which we see in Acts chapter 10.
Right, Acts 10. We've been talking about the Holy Spirit's role, haven't we?
Exactly. In individuals, in groups,
Mm-hmm.
bringing salvation, faith, producing the fruit, those character qualities, and the gifts, those spiritual abilities, all for the church's benefit.
Okay, so Acts 10. Set the scene for us. How does this incredible shift begin?
Well, it starts with this guy Cornelius. He's a Roman centurion stationed in Caesarea, and the text describes him as devout, generous, a God-fearer, essentially.
A Roman soldier, but devout. Interesting start.
Very. And he receives a vision. An angel tells him basically, send for Peter in Joppa.
All right, so Cornelius gets his instruction. What about Peter?
Peter, meanwhile, he's this Jewish fisherman, and he's down in Joppa. And he's staying at a tanner's house.
A tanner? Wasn't that considered unclean?
Precisely. For a devout Jew, it was a place of ritual impurity. So that little detail already highlights the massive cultural and religious barriers Peter himself was navigating.
Wow, okay. So he's already in a slightly compromised position, ritually speaking.
You could say that. And just as Cornelius' messengers are approaching Joppa, Peter has his own vision.
The famous one with the sheet.
That's the one. A great sheet coming down from heaven, filled with all sorts of animals the Jews considered unclean.
And a voice tells him to kill and eat.
Right. And this vision repeats 3 times. Which, let's be honest, probably tells us how profoundly difficult this concept was for Peter to accept.
Because of his ingrained Jewish understanding, right? His whole life was built around these distinctions.
Absolutely. The vision declared all things clean, directly challenging his deep-seated prejudice against Gentiles and Gentile things.
So he's wrestling with this.
He is. And right then, Cornelius' men arrive. And the Spirit tells Peter directly, go with them, don't hesitate.
Wow, direct instruction.
No ambiguity. So Peter actually welcomes these Gentile men, offers them hospitality, another significant step, and then travels with them, like 80 miles to Caesarea.
That's a long journey based on a vision and a command.
It shows his eventual obedience, despite the struggle. When they arrive, Cornelius hasn't just waited alone. He's gathered his entire household, his close friends. They're all there, ready.
Eager to hear.
Exactly. Ready to hear whatever Peter has to say. And Peter, now clearly starting to grasp the implications, basically confesses, it's against our law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile.
He acknowledges the barrier right up
Yeah,
front.
and then he adds, "But God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean."
The vision clicked.
It seems so. And Peter then responds not with some complex theology, but by just clearly sharing the simple story of Jesus.
What did he focus on?
He spoke of the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all, initially mentioning it was for the people of Israel. But what's so compelling here is Peter's emphasis. He wasn't just relaying something he'd heard second or third hand.
Right.
He emphatically stated, "We are witnesses of all that Jesus did." He saw it.
First-hand observer, life, death on the cross.
Resurrection, ascension. That personal experience made his testimony incredibly powerful and authentic.
And that's vital for us too, isn't it? Our witness isn't just repeating facts, but sharing our own lived experience of, well, God's love and salvation.
Absolutely essential. Peter also connected it back, highlighting how all the Old Testament prophets foretold Jesus, saying basically everyone who believes in him will have their sins forgiven in his name.
Okay, so he's laying out the core message, but then comes the really astonishing part.
Yes, this is the kicker. As Peter is still speaking, he hasn't even finished his sermon. The Holy Spirit powerfully descends upon all who were listening.
All of them, Gentiles included.
Gentiles and Jews alike. And Luke makes a point of saying Peter's Jewish companions were utterly astonished.
I bet they were. This shattered everything they thought they knew.
Completely. It was this profound, barrier-shattering moment. It demonstrated that God chooses unexpected people. Peter, Cornelius, not based on human merit or background.
And that salvation is a free gift.
A free gift, by God's grace, breaking down those ancient, deeply ingrained Jew-Gentile divisions. The Holy Spirit's action, right there in a Roman soldier's house in Caesarea, that was nothing less than the birth of the worldwide church.
Wow, right there. Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening today? We've seen this incredible divine orchestration, haven't we? A Roman soldier, Cornelius, and a, let's face it, prejudiced fisherman, Peter.
Initially prejudiced.
Right. Brought together by visions, by divine timing. And the message of peace with God through Jesus, which many thought was just for the Jewish people,
Suddenly, definitively.
becomes a message for everyone. This whole account just underscores this profound truth. God's grace isn't earned, it's freely given.
And it shatters every single human-made barrier.
Yeah. The Holy Spirit acted decisively, falling on all who listened, shocking Peter's companions, and signaling that God's family was now open to the entire world. It all started right there, in Cornelius' house.
If we connect this back sort of to the bigger picture, even back to that football match.
Yeah, unexpected moments.
Exactly. The whole story highlights God's perfect timing and his absolute willingness to work through the unexpected, often requiring us to let go of our preconceived notions.
Like Peter had to.
Just like Peter needing that vision 3 times because, well, maybe he was a bit thick-headed about it.
Understandably, perhaps.
Perhaps. But profound change often comes when we, like Peter, allow our own prejudices, our own assumptions to be overcome. When we step boldly into God's much bigger, more expansive plan.
So the challenge remains.
Yeah, it raises that important question for you again. How willing are you truly to let the Holy Spirit be your guide and leader, especially when it means challenging your own deeply held assumptions, or maybe venturing into uncomfortable but divinely appointed territory?